quivering all along the little valley, and as the terrible thirst increased, so did our tortures seem to multiply, from the fact that we could hear the heavy dull thunderous murmur away to our right, and we knew that it was the cool, clear, delicious water, every drop of which would have given our dried up mouths and parched throats relief. At one time I turned giddy, and the whole scene before me seemed to be spinning round, while my head throbbed with the pain I suffered, my tongue all the time feeling like a piece of dry leather which clung to the roof of my mouth. And still the firing was going steadily on, each sending a bullet straight to its mark whenever opportunity occurred, but apparently without effect, for in the midst of all this firing, and the confusion of shouts from the enemy and defiant replies from our people, the arrows went to and fro as rapidly as ever. If it had not been for the sound of the falling water, I believe I could have borne the thirst far better. But no matter how the fighting went, there was always the soft, deep roar of the plashing water, tantalising us with thoughts of its refreshing draughts and delicious coolness, when laving our fevered heads. I grew so giddy at times that I felt I should only waste my shot if I fired, and refrained, while gaining experience and growing bolder by degrees. The savages aimed so that every shot became dangerous, for they sent them straight at the mass of rock before us some 10 or a dozen yards, and this they struck then glanced off, so we were nearly hit 3 times running. Stones were set up at once upon our right as a protection, but this only saved us for a time. The savages had found out the way to touch us, and before many minutes had elapsed, ricochet shots were coming amongst us again. "I can hardly see them, Joe," whispered the doctor suddenly. "My eyes are dizzy with this awful thirst. We must have water if we're to live." He ceased speaking to catch me by the arm, and pointed to the bush that had been so long stationary in one place that I had forgotten it. "What's that, my lad?" he whispered. "Is that bush moving, or are my eyes playing me false? It must be on the move. It is some trick. Fire at once and stop it, or we shall be taken in the flank." I raised my gun as I saw the bush moving slowly on towards us, now coming a yard or two and then stopping, but I was so giddy and confused that I lowered it again, unable to take aim. This took place again and again, and at last I lay there scanning, as in a nightmare, the coming of that great green bush. The doctor was watching with bloodshot eyes the enemy on his own side. Jack Penny was busy on the other, and the command of this treacherous advancing enemy was left to my gun, which seemed now to have become of enormous weight when I tried to raise it and take aim. "It's all a dream. It's fancy," I said to myself, as I tried to shade my eyes and steady my gaze. But as I said this the bush once more began to glide on, and the dark patch I saw beneath it must, I felt, be the leg of the savage concealed behind. End of chapter 19. How we were besieged, and I thought of Birnam Wood.